Summer, the road behind Grandma's house burned gold at noon, and I learned to ride a bicycle along its length, with my father walking beside me, and the world tilting like a small ship on a lazy sea. The bike was a loner, red as a comet's tail, paint flaking at the edges where the sun had kissed it thin and bright. I sat on the saddle, as heavy as a new thought, cheeks hot with the sun, hands slick on the handlebars, and the air smelled of cut grass, warm earth, and something sweet I never could name. Peach skin and possibility, perhaps. I remember the first moment I dared to lift my feet from the pedals, the way the world slowed and then came back in a rush, the gravel gritting against the tires, the little cry of the chain, the soft thud of my heart hitting a rhythm only I could hear. Grandma's garden lay to our left, a tangle of bean trellises and marigolds that burned orange in the light. The lilac hedge on the far side of the yard shed a purple sigh when the breeze found it, and the kitchen door stood open, a mouthful of steam and bread, and the faint sound of a radio singing songs I thought only grown-ups knew. My sister trailed behind, barefoot, a ribbon of laughter trailing from her lips as she chased a dragonfly that kept landing on the back of my neck, then slipping away with a whisper of wings. The world seemed to hold its breath when the first push came, my father's steady left hand beneath the small of my back, the other hand palm down on the seat, as if to remind me, in a quiet, stubborn way, that I was meant to stay. What I felt under that sun was not fear alone, but a quiet astonishment, as if gravity itself had offered me a small broken key and said, "Try the door," and I did, not fully understanding what door would open, but feeling certain it would be some version of home. My shoulders learned the language muscles had not bothered to teach before, a language of balance and caution and daring, all at once. The road stretched ahead, straight and ordinary, patterned with the small dark specks of pebbles that looked like stars fallen to earth. The river that ran beyond the bend whispered in a voice I could almost translate. Low, patient, always ready to remind you that water too grows when given room to move. And then the moment came when my father let go for a heartbeat, as if a small miracle might appear and vanish in the same breath. He released his grip, kept his eyes on mine, and took a measured step backward, the way a man steps away from a flame, not to extinguish it, but to give it air. My hands found the rhythm I did not know I possessed, and the bike answered with a stubborn, friendly buzz. My feet pushed down with increasing confidence, and for a second the world stood still. The lavender of the hedge, the soft rasp of tires on dusty asphalt, the distant laughter of cousins playing in the barn, all held in a single bright frame. I rode to the bend where the willows dipped their fingers into the water, and when I looked back, I saw my father's smile, a crescent of relief and pride, and a cloud of dust that seemed to lift with him, as if we were passing into a page of a book about beginnings. I fell later that day, of course, once near the gate where the hedges crowded the lane, once when a stray pebble learned my wheel's stubborn mood and sent me wobbling toward the curb. But every scrape wrote a new line into me, a reminder that to be brave is not to escape falling, but to rise with more clarity about what matters. My mother would kiss my scraped knee with a cool cloth and tell me the day's sun would forget the scuffs, but remember the attempt. In her voice there was no sermon, only a soft wind of mercy that made me feel I was seen exactly as I was, broken and unbroken in the same breath. That afternoon suddenly, almost as if the day exhaled and chose that precise hour for memory, I understood, in a way I would only recognize later, that my father's steady hands were guiding not only the bike, but a life I had yet to name. The gesture was small, ordinary, a ritual as old as the road itself. Permission granted, fear acknowledged, help offered, independence earned, all without a fanfare or a single heroic speech. It was in that quiet space between him letting go and me finding my equilibrium that I learned a gentle creed. That growth does not roar. It grows in the margins of minutes, the momentary breath before a decision, the pause before a first step, the patient watching of someone you love become your apprentice in the art of becoming yourself. Years later, the memory sits in the quiet corners of my mind, like a photograph that has learned to breathe. I can hear the cicadas on the hottest days, the soft chorus of the kitchen radio, the rustle of cornstalks in the field beyond the fence. I can taste the pennies of sweetness in the peach I bite as the car doors slam shut and the world rushes by on the way to somewhere else. And I understand, with a slow, almost stubborn kindness toward myself, that what I learned that day was not simply how to ride a bike, but how to learn to be inside a life that would never pause to let me rehearse courage again and again until it sounded perfect. I learned to lean into the moment and to trust that the moment would lean back. Maybe not perfectly, maybe with a wobble or two, but with truth enough to keep carrying me forward. The memory has grown old with me, as memories do, turning softer around the edges, but not less bright. I still smell the warmth of the sun on my cheeks, the scent of grass baking in the heat, the sweetness of those peaches, and the way the river woke up when the sun grew heavy noonward. I still hear the distant laughter, the faint clink of a bucket, the sigh of the willows. And I still feel the exact center of that day, the moment when time gave me a choice, and I chose to keep moving, to trust what I could learn with my own two wheels, and a father's patient hand hovering nearby, ready to share the burden of fear and carry the joy I was brave enough to claim. In the years since, I have watched lives unfold with the same patient tempo as a summer afternoon. Some days, the road looks inviting, others, rough as gravel. Some days, I am tempted to turn back, to find the old comfort of sameness, rather than the hard, luminous truth of risk. But time has given me a quieter set of instruments now, a remembering mind that does not rush to fix what cannot be fixed, a heart that recognizes all the doors slightly ajar as chances to step forward rather than to retreat, and a daily faith in small, steadfast acts, the way a child slowly learns to steer, the way a neighbor lends a hand, the way a letter can cross a county to land softly in another person's hand and become a bridge. I am reminded, as I am every time I walk down that old lane in my mind, that memory is not a museum piece to be polished and displayed, but a living thing that keeps us warm when the world grows cold. That day on the bicycle taught me to listen to the world around me, and to listen to the tremor inside me that says I am still included in the story, still offered a chance to contribute, still capable of rising after a fall. It taught me, most of all, that meaning does not vanish with the years. It settles deeper, like sediment in a quiet river, so that even when I forget a word, I remember the feel of air on my face as I learned to fly on two wheels. And so I go on, with a patient gratitude, carrying that old lesson like a small lantern through the rooms of my days. Time moves on, yes, but the core truth remains. that a life is stitched together by small, steadfast